podcast with me, JoeySuki, and that's it for today. Normally we have Jay right here and we have Ralph, but Ralph is on his way to Ibiza at the moment, I believe, and Jay is enjoying his newly born baby and the rest of his family, of course. So he's taking some time off to enjoy that. Both of them will be back next week, I guess. We also have a guest next week, so that's also interesting. But for today, it will be just me. I hope that's okay and good enough for you guys. What's up, Melodramatic? Checking in as always. What's up, Josh? Good to see you here as well. Um, the the strategy for today is slightly different than normal, as in, since it's just me, I thought it was a cool idea to take in questions from the audience and the community and kind of do a full episode on that. As in, normally we take about a third of the episode and take some questions from the community there, but today I thought it was good to say, you know what, let's take the full episode and dedicate it to helping you, the community, the listeners. Um, so I already saw a few questions coming in on the Artist Coaching Discord, the community Discord. By the way, if you are listening regularly to this podcast and you're not a part of that Discord yet, make sure to join right now as we speak. Go to your podcast where you're listening. In the description, right there, the first link you'll see, there is a link to the Discord community. Make sure to join there, and we'll be happy to have you there. You'll join a community full of like minded artists from all over the world. What's up, Jamie Strive? Pepe, what's up? What's up? And Martin Stevenson, what's up? Welcome to the episode. Pepe says, I like do every month maybe Q&A with the audience. It's actually a good idea, Pepe, but we also have a monthly Q&A in the Discord. So if you are interested in that, every month we have an open Q&A for community members only. So you can just go to the Discord and there's a monthly Q&A right there if you're interested. But we actually do weekly small Q&As because we take in questions every week. What's up, Lion Harris, Ivanson? Cool seeing all of you today. No, Jay's not going to join today. He's enjoying his newly born and the rest of his family, so he's taking some time to enjoy that. So, guys, for everyone checking in right now, make sure to send in your questions if you have one. I will be happy to help you. I'm an open book. As always, I'm looking forward to answering questions for you guys. But let's start with the ones who have been sent in the community. Um, Mac Capco. Hey Joey, don't know if this has been mentioned as I haven't listened to the podcast yet, but I just seen a video from Richie Hart on Instagram about something called a slice. Have you, Ralph, or Jay heard of that, and what's your thoughts on it closing down? A slice. Okay, what's that? Honestly, I have no idea. A slice. Creating a fair music ecosystem. I have no clue what this is. Honestly, I have no clue what this is. No longer accepting playlist. I don't know what it is. If someone does know what it is, feel free to drop it in the chat, but I have no clue what it is, so I can't give my opinion on it for now. There's a question from him in the community. At what point in an artist's career do you need an accountant? And what specific tasks do accountants handle for artists like Ralph and Jopke that help him? It's actually a good question, him. In the Netherlands, there is a difference between an accountant and I think it's called a bookkeeper. Let's see what the translation is. No, it's also an accountant. Because in the Netherlands, there's like two different things. There's a, let's say, a bookkeeper and an accountant. But on average, what that person does is they take care of your administration, your financial administration. So they make sure the taxes are being paid properly, the invoices are being arranged and paid properly. Um, some of them, and in the Netherlands, it's accountants who take that for themselves, but they also look into the future and kind of advise you on how to deal with your money, like maybe if you need to invest, if that's better for you, or like all those kind of strategical tips and tricks that you can use as an artist to make the best use of your money and probably pay less tax if possible in like a legal way, obviously, but they kind of are great in finding those ways. So that's what an accountant does. And as you can probably imagine, it's not that helpful to get a person like that in the early days of your career, because if there's no money to manage, why would you have him? So normally an accountant or a bookie or whatever you want to call it becomes interesting once you kind of start to make decent money. So I would say 50k plus, maybe even 100k plus a year. I would say 50k plus a year. That's when it becomes interesting to at least kind of take care of the financial aspect of things and make sure everything is arranged properly. Because the last person you want to go into a fight with is the tax office, I would say. Another question from Renzo in the community. Question for Joey. After experiencing burnout, many producers find that they no longer enjoy making music, even just for fun. Did this happen to you, and why do you think that that enjoyment fades? Good question. Let me first take a sip of my coffee. What's up, him? Good to see you. Okay, so after experiencing burnout, many producers find that they no longer enjoy making music. Yeah, that happened to me as well. Maybe for those who don't know, after my burnout already like over 10 years ago, um, I decided to quit my career. But one of the things that also came with that is that I really lost connection with music. As in, I just really didn't feel like making music anymore. I wasn't inspired. I didn't want to go into the studio. At the height of it all, I was really kind of sick of the whole music industry. I just didn't want to have anything to do with the music industry. So I started unfollowing all the DJs. I started to kind of block everything out of my life that had anything to do with music. Um, and it kind of took me 2 years, I would say, to get to a level where I could enjoy listening to music again. And now, roughly 10 years later, um, I kind of started to feel the urge, or let's say inspiration, to get back to making music again. Actually, last week I did open up my laptop and made some music for the first time again, and that has been a long, long time ago. So to get to the question, what was the specific question? Yes, it did happen to me. Why do you think the enjoyment fades? Well, I think the enjoyment fades because creativity is kind of the first thing that gets broken down once you are stressed, or any other fundamental thing in your life is kind of shaking or needs attention. So you can imagine, if you're in a burnout, kind of your whole fundament is shaking and needs attention. So being in a creative headspace, being in a creative mindset is kind of impossible at that state. That's why I always say, like, if you want to be creative, you really need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of the fact that you have a balanced life, you eat healthy, you have time with friends, you work out. Like, all those things impact your creativity eventually. And the last thing you want in your life is stress, especially financial stress, but any kind of stress is killing your creativity. So make sure you try to live as balanced and as healthy as possible, because eventually that will help you to be as creative as possible. And yeah, that's also the reason why people in burnouts struggle to be creative, simply because yeah, the mind is not focused on that. It's not capable of focusing on that. It's just focusing on getting better and yeah, finding a solution, finding an answer, I would say. Good question. Thanks for sending that in. Um, Ivanson Martin, thanks for the shout out, man. He says, I do not have a question, but nice that there's artist coaching and podcast. Do it more, broski. Well, I try to do our best. We do it every week with the podcast, and artist coaching is my full time thing. So thanks for being here. Um, I see the chat is going off, by the way. Thanks, guys. I'll try to do my best to cover the questions. Follow-up question from Renzo. Also, who or what inspired you to become a coach? I've noticed that many successful producers often move into roles at record labels, A&Rs, promoters, or join management agencies. I'm curious to know what led you to choose coaching. Interesting. And you're right, because what most people might not know from me is that when I decided to quit my music career, I actually first started to work in a factory. So that's a whole other story which you can read in my book if you want. But I first took a few months to work in a factory to kind of level with like the regular world and kind of level out with what's normal, you could say. And after that, I decided to go work at a label. So I became an A&R, well, actually a product manager for a year. And I just didn't really like that. I was used to work for myself, to be my own boss. And I kind of struggled to work for a boss. Although I kind of liked the job, it was also pretty repetitive to me. And I don't know, it just didn't felt good. So actually during that time when I was working there, in the evening hours, I started thinking like, hey, I already was in a position where I was kind of able to zoom out on my own situation and why I decided to quit my career. And it kind of became clear to me that I never really had the help that I kind of could have helped, could have needed. Um, and that actually led to the idea of artist coaching. I was thinking like, what did I miss in my own career and what could have maybe prevented me from getting into this burnout, but also could have saved me amounts of time because I made a lot of stupid decisions because I needed to find it out all by myself. And I really started to believe in having a mentor in life, having someone who is just a mile ahead of you and who has done all the things you are trying to achieve, because that person kind of has figured out the blueprint, right? They know what works, what doesn't, and what to pay attention to and what not. So having mentors in your life became important to me back then. So I was like, why didn't I have like a mentor, and why isn't that like a thing you can do and get guided by a person like that? So that's where the idea of artist coaching started, and I was just really getting interested in the whole personal growth kind of thing as well, because I was damaged and I needed to work on myself. That really sparked my interest to the whole theory and the whole um, let's say thoughts behind it. So I don't know, like I just figure out that helping people, working with people, the mental health side of things, but also the experience and the knowledge that I've gained over the year, it kind of what it was like a perfect melt, I would say, that worked for me and also was, yeah, something that was needed, I would say, in the music industry. So I'm still happy to do this 10 years later, and to see a great community like you guys and to have amazing clients and a great team. um, yeah, I'm very grateful that we're here today. Okay, let's go to the YouTube chat. It's hard to talk for an hour straight, man. I need some coffee every now and then, or water. Let's go, Pepe. What's your opinion on what's your opinion on even big DJs that send marketing emails to buy their new track and send screenshots so they can be number one on Beatport? Is that still valid nowadays? Send marketing emails to buy their new track and send screenshots so they can be. I'm not sure what you mean with the screenshots and stuff, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that big DJs send out emails to their fans, for example, or to their community, because eventually those people, their fans, their community, are the ones who are the most interested in your new songs. So getting it to them first kind of makes sense, right? Your most loyal fan base, your most loyal people kind of deserve the option to get the song first. So I don't really see a problem with marketing emails. I'm not sure what you mean with sending screenshots so they can be number one on Beatport, but yeah, if you care to explain, maybe I can go into that as well. Lion Harris, what's up, man? Did you ever had problems with the tax office back then? In Germany, they react really aggressive if someone small is wrong. Well, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, fortunately, I've never been in a fight with the tax office. I always, like, I'm kind of, I was grown up. Like one of the things my parents always told me was, make sure your finances are okay. You know, it's all arranged and properly and legal and blah blah blah. So from the early days of my career, I had someone advising me in that. Although it wasn't that complicated, it still kind of gave me a peace of mind that it was taken care of. So I never had really had a problem with the tax office, and hopefully I won't ever. But yeah, never say never, right? Aldo, what's up? Welcome. It's a new name to me. I'm not sure if you've been listening more often and it's just the first time commenting, but nice to see you here. Thank you for your question. Aldo is questioning. It seems many young DJs have a manager. I wonder where is this from? If everyone told me with your music you will attract agencies, etc. It's just a friend of them that becomes suddenly a manager. Yeah, that could be, it depends on what situation you're referring to. But to be real honest, in the early days of your career, you really don't need a manager because there's not that much to manage. If you don't have that many tracks going out, if you don't have that big of a network, if you don't have that many requests for remixes or signing deals or sponsorships or whatever you work with, having a manager just doesn't make sense at that point because eventually you need to pay that person, right? And on average, a manager takes about, I would say, 20% of your net income. And if you don't make that much money yet, so let's say you make $1,000 a month from music, which is already nice in the early days, and having to pay 20% of that to a manager, it's kind of hard, right? So I'm a big fan of doing most of those things yourself in the early days of your career. And some people who do have a manager in the early days of their career, it could really help, if it's the right person, if it's someone who is capable of lifting your career up to the next level, who can open up doors that you can't open yourself. That that could make sense to me if you have enough leverage, you could say, if you have enough weight as an artist to kind of get to the next level, and you have someone helping you with that. Yeah, sure, that makes sense. But honestly, in most cases that I've seen before, having a manager in your early days, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Um, Melodramatic. Doesn't it feel good to hit that dog? Well, I must say it did. I had some spare time on a Sunday. I had my laptop with me, and I was like, you know what? I've been kind of postponing this for a long time. Let's just open it and see what happens. And I've actually created like a nice, decent, basic fundament for a cool song. So I might finish it. We'll see. Do you think Ralph and Jobke would have accountants at their size? Yes, they do. Yeah. Aldo, after COVID, the amount of music produced is way too much. I feel like forced to release a new single every month or less. Thoughts on that? Um, I'm not sure if COVID was necessarily the boost of it, I would say, but yes, releasing a song is kind of the average these days, but I think that has more to do with, first of all, consistency for yourself, for your fan base, and at the same time also consistency for the algorithms. You know, the attention span of an average listener these days is like 5 seconds. Thank you, TikTok. But yeah, that's reality. You know, people really forget about music or forget about your name pretty quick. So you want to stay top of mind with them constantly and keep feeding them with new stuff. Um, and monthly is about like the average thing most people would say is doable. Although it's still really hard, and you should decide for yourself. I would say, what is the average that you can maintain? You know, every person's story is different, every person's life is different. So if you live with a full-time job, I can imagine it's pretty hard to do a monthly release. But if you are capable of doing a 6 to maybe 8 months release, why not focus on that? You know, eventually what matters is that you give it your all, dealing with all the things that you have to deal with. So if twice, well, let's say every 2 months would be doable for you, then let's just focus on that. It's yeah, you can't do more than you can do, right? They want you to take a picture of your purchase at Beeport to prove your fan loyalty. Oh, so the fans have to send the purchase picture to the artist, you mean? I've actually never heard of that before, but yeah. Him is asking, Joey, I remember you mentioned in an old episode that labels sometimes request a promotional content package for tracks from artists. I was just wondering what this meant. I can't really recall me saying that, but I kind of get what you mean. So let me try to answer it in the best way possible. Promotional content package. I think what I was talking about is the press pack. So that contains high quality pictures, your biography, your discography, maybe, um, like all the things that they would need in order to promote your track in the best way. So that could be a list of releases, a list of highlights, a list of upcoming tracks, maybe, maybe some cool video footage that they can use for like general use. I think I meant that kind of stuff. You know, eventually a label is going to create content around your song. Hopefully, at least a decent label would. Um, and sending them that content directly in high quality would already help them a lot, I would say, to yeah, to promote the song even better. A question from Ilya. Hey Joey, how can I deal with high vocal fees? The label I work with is an indie label, so a fee must be recouped on full artist share, meaning I get no royalties until fees are recouped. Yes, Ilya, this is a pretty tough part of music production because vocals make your track better overall, make them more interesting, especially for listening kind of music on Spotify. But the problem is, vocals are expensive. And that is, or at least used to be, because people are spending time to write those lyrics, to record those songs. Sometimes they have to rent a studio to record the songs. So there is time and energy spent in order to create those vocals. And if you think about it, they kind of bring it back to like an hourly rate. So if they would ask for, I don't know, 50 bucks an hour, which is a pretty decent salary, I would say, a pretty okay salary to start off with. Um, and they work on that song for a day, let's say 8 hours. That's already 400 bucks that you have to pay for to just use the song, right? So um, yeah, vocal fees are really high, and the recouping part of things is a problem. You can always negotiate that with your label if you want to, so that you don't want to have all the risk on you, but maybe split the risk with the label. These days, obviously, you have things like AI, which can do amazing work and maybe even for free. So if you really struggle with real human vocals and struggle with those fees, try to be creative and see how you can use AI maybe to create vocals, or maybe create bootlegs, because then you can just pick someone else's vocal and create a song around that. So I can imagine that the fees are high, but I can also understand why they are high, because those people need to make money as well. But it's just a bit out of balance for several years right now. It's just hard to make that amount of money, to earn that money back. If you need to invest $1,000, it's hard to make to earn $1,000 on a self-released song, for example, or on a song that you release on a small label, and you need to recoup everything. A question from Pepe. What makes a DJ interesting now to clubs? It seems promoters are never happy, even with the best press kit, music been released on great labels, top socials. So it's all about network only. Um, I don't really think so, Pepe. I think what it's more about these days, and kind of always has been, but it might have shifted a bit more towards that side, is that these days the fan base that you have, the reach that you have, is more important than ever. And I think that that's because these days your reach, your fan base is visually visual. Like you can literally go to your Instagram and check how big your reach is, or how big your impact as an artist is. And back in the day, so let's say 15 to 20 years ago, pre social media, it was hard to measure that, right? It was hard to measure your, let's say, success as an artist, because there was no data available for everyone. The only real data you had was like record sales, for example. And now everything's data. Your followers, your likes, your interactions, your engagement, your Spotify streams, your YouTube streams. They can see everything within a few clicks. And that's important to a promoter, because eventually they just question themselves and say, if I book this person, if I pay money for this person, how many people will show up in my club, right? How many people will buy tickets? How many people will bring their friends? How many drinks will I sell? Eventually, how much money do I make if I book this person? And if they go to your Instagram, and if they go to your YouTube or Spotify or whatever, and they see not too much engagement, not too much followers, like the link is kind of almost directly that they all almost assume directly that they would think that there's no money to be made for them. And in most cases, they're right. So that's why they mostly look for artists who have engaging socials, pretty decent numbers, kind of all over the board. So YouTube, Instagram, great content, great music, some nice collabs. Like they're looking for the full package these days, and not just one thing that's jumps out of it, I would say. A question from Lucas. What's up? Can AI change everything? Yes, it can. And I think it's already doing that, because it really changes the workflow, it changes creativity, um, and probably it will change a lot more in the future. I wouldn't be too afraid of it yet, to be honest, because yeah, AI has been here for many, many years. It's everywhere already. Like your iPhone is full of AI, for example. Your car is full of AI. Like it's already here for a longer period of time. Um, and I don't really believe that AI will take over real artists, at least not for the next 20 to 50 years, I would say. So I would really use AI to improve your efficiency, to improve your workflow, to use it as a brainstorm partner to come up with new ideas. I think it's just a tool, just another tool in your toolkit that you can use as an artist. And I would be grateful for all those new tools, because it makes things easier. In general, I would applaud it. What is after Instagram in the future? It was a picture app, now losing control. All sponsored posts. What is I don't know. Question from Melodramatic. But doesn't the follower counts no longer matter as much? Um, yes, it does. But if it's really out of balance with the engagement, I would say it doesn't count as much as it used to do, because you can have 100,000 followers, but if you post something, you will only reach, I don't know, 2,000 people, and two people will comment on it and actually care about it. Like, the engagement eventually is one of the most important things, because that's the question that the promoter will ask himself, like, how many people actually care about you as an artist? How many people will actually buy a ticket and will get into motion when they see that you play in their city? um, you can have a lot of followers on your socials or on Spotify, but if no one actually is engaging with you and nobody really cares what you're doing, then there's probably no money to be made for a promoter. So the follower counts are not as important as they used to be. I would say the engagement is more important these days. Question from Gabriel. For tackling social media, would you go everything at once or try to figure out each social media and what works for what platform? Good question, actually. I would try to do everything all at once. As in, especially with these planning tools that you have these days, we use Metricool, for example, at Artist Coaching. You can just post one thing on all the platforms within one click. And I would say give it all a try. Just try out a few things, try it out for a few weeks, try out different types of content, different types of forms, subtitles, give it all a try. And after those few weeks, maybe even months, just look back at the content and see, like, hey, this piece of content performed really well on Instagram, but really sucked on YouTube. And this piece of content performed really well on Facebook, but did really bad on LinkedIn. So after a few months or weeks, you can just look back and kind of look at the data and see, hey, I thought I was assuming that this kind of content worked the best for me, but actually, what the audience is telling me is that they would prefer this kind of content. And if that kind of is in line with what you'd like to do as well, then you could focus more on that type of content, because that's what the audience is requesting. But you really need to make sure that you do it because you like to do it as well. So that's always the start of creating content. Focus on what you want to make and what makes you feel comfortable. And eventually, if those are, let's say, 10 types of different content, you can see what audience actually likes from those 10 types of content, and you can narrow down on that and double down on that. But you're still doing something that you prefer to do and that is comforting to you, but you've just listened to your audience and doubled down on that. But I would always say, like, give it a try on all platforms and see what works best for you as a person, but also for your audience. I think that IG is becoming like Facebook, where they don't show any more posts to followers unless you pay money. Yeah, Lucas, that's the how do you call it? Like the um, what's that place again called? Like, that's the Silicon Valley playbook, because this is how it works, right? They kind of start a platform and build like a network effect in the early days, because they give you a lot of reach, and it's super interesting to get into the platform and start posting stuff and sharing stuff, because you reach so many people for free. Facebook started like this, Instagram started like this, TikTok started like this. They all did it. And eventually, after few years, when the platform's actually really big and everyone's using it, they kind of start to narrow down the reach, because now they know, okay, we've got the attention, we've got the people in, we've got the network effect going. Now we can start kind of narrowing down the reach and kind of slow it down and make it less and less and less. And that kind of incentivizes you to start paying, because you want to reach those people that are following you, or you want to reach the people that might be interested in you on a platform. So you kind of became reliant on them. And that's a perfect position for them, but a sucky position for you, to be honest. So it's just the Silicon Valley playbook. I would say this is what's happening with all of those social media platforms. It's just something you have to deal with, you know. Like in the early days, you can really take a lot of advantages from it, especially as an early artist. If you started doing TikToks 5 years ago, you kind of could blow up without paying a single dollar. And these days it might become a bit hard, you know, but that's the game. Always try to be an early adapter on new social platforms. And then once it pops, you're already there for like a few months or years, maybe. Yeah, Melodramatic says, I found threads to be helpful, boost my career when it got me in front of more IG people and my name out there. It's a good example, you know. Threads from Instagram, you can kind of see what's happening there now in the early days of Instagram. That's the Silicon Valley playbook that I just mentioned. Like they make it very interesting to come onto Threads and give you a lot of free reach there because they want you to use the platform. And as long as nobody's doing it yet, it's still interesting. But once it becomes busier and busier and busier, and more people start to use it, they will do the same thing all over again. So try to use the platforms in your advantage in the early days and just realize that it might change somewhere in the future. Ozan will Weraf be joining the live stream today? No, not today. He's on his way to Ibiza today, I guess. So he won't be joining here today. We're doing a Q&A, so if you have a question for me, feel free to ask it right here, and I'll be more than happy to answer it. By the way, guys, quick quick intermezzo in this rant of answering questions. For those who haven't seen it yet, if you are planning to go to ADE this year, by the way, let me know in the chat if who's going to ADE this year. Let me know, because in about a month, the Amsterdam Dance event will be back in town. And as always, we are throwing our own party as well, the famous Munch and Mingle by now. It's an event where we always have lunch with each other, like people from the community, but also clients, people from the team. Like it's a really nice and cozy event, which we do yearly. It's a lunch, and during the lunch, we will invite people to do talks and inspiration sessions and Q&As and those type of things. And by the end of the event, we also have a small like network drink where you can just shake hands and meet each other. I always I always really like the event because I get to meet people from all over the world that I've been talking to throughout the whole year. And what's also really fun for me to see in the first few years before now is that people actually started to go to ADE events together after the event. They kind of start to hook up and go with groups and became friends, maybe even. So it's really fun for me to see that all those things happened there. And I'm looking forward to the event again. If you are coming to ADE, make sure to get your tickets for community members in the Discord. There is, let me check, it's still active. There is a 20% discount for community members only. So you haven't heard it from me. But if you go to the Discord now, and you can claim your 20% discount there for community members. So make sure to go there if you want to come. I see Josh Letitia is coming. For you is coming. Unfortunately, Jamie Strive not, but maybe next year. For you says, I went last year and it was very informative and fun. Thanks, man. That's great to hear. Good to see you this year again. Lucas asking, who are the guests you're inviting? That's actually still a secret, as in, well, not necessarily a secret. I'm still working on it because during ADE, the schedules of all the artists are insane because ADE is like a super intense week. And it's hard to get all the calendars arranged and to get all the people in line and get them on board. So I'm still working on it, but I do promise it's going to be a very interesting edition. Um, I'm also thinking about doing a live podcast there where we can do like a real live Q&A and just get you guys into the podcast as well. So that might be something to do as well. But I do promise that there will be interesting guests. I will also be there. Um, so yeah, I'll keep you up to date in the upcoming weeks. Uh, Ozan, thank you. My question is very specific. I'll drop the question in the Discord then. Take care. Much love from Turkey, and hopefully next year, ADE. Thank you, Ozan. I appreciate you, and I'll see the question coming in. Live ADE podcast will be awesome. Yes, I do think it will be awesome. I need to figure out an easy way to set it up because I don't want to take all the gear with me for like 2 days of ADE. But we'll see how we can fix that. Question from Pepe: are DJs at ADE paid? I heard many friends going for free, but hotels are so expensive. It's actually a good point to point out. Most gigs, I think almost all of the gigs that the artists do during ADE are unpaid, are free, are promotional. And most of the time that is because they're not like real gigs. Most of the time it's more like promotional 20-minute sets, or it's um, it's like how you call it, like a promotional thing from your agency or a promotional party from your label. So even when you sign with labels, for example, or when you sign with agencies, part of the agreement also says that if there ever should be like a promotional party, you're obligated to play there. So you should always check that out in your agreements as well, that sometimes they just expect you to play there if you've released on a certain label, and most of the times it's also in your agreement. So make sure when you sign to check that out because it might be important. But yes, for most artists during ADE, it's playing for free or a low amount of money. And yes, the hotels are super expensive. ADE is expensive, is always expensive, or Amsterdam is always expensive, but especially during events like ADE, yeah, the hotel owners just know that there will be, I don't know, 100,000 people coming to Amsterdam for the Amsterdam Dance event, and all those people need a place to sleep. So it's a question. It's a matter of question and demand, right? Um, yeah, the price will go up during those periods, but it's getting really expensive. Are there any other questions that you guys like me to have answered? I think at least I went through them all in the chats. Let's see, Discord. By the way, did you check out in the Discord last week? I threw an interview that Hartwell did 2 years ago with Apple Music. I completely missed that interview, but somebody sent it to me, so I checked it out. It's a pretty short interview of like 20, 30 minutes, I believe. But he's super open and honest there about why he decided to quit touring and decided to take some time off. And it's a super valuable interview, I would say, especially as an aspiring artist. It's very interesting to hear his train of thought, his mindset, and maybe even the difficulties of being such a big DJ and being a touring DJ. And yeah, I just think it's good to realize for every artist who is trying to achieve that in his life. Um, you should check out that interview because there's a lot of valuable stuff in there that you can learn from. So it's in the Discord if you're interested. I believe it's in the general chat. Yeah, it's in the general chat. Yeah, Josh for you is also saying that they love the interview. Question from him. Joey, did you mention that a contract might make you obligated to perform a promotional set? Is this the label or agency contract? Could be both. Eventually, if you sign a contract with an agency, for example, or a label, um, those companies would like to do promotional events as well to showcase their DJs, and you're obligated to play there because you're part of their group. So it could be the label, it could be an agency, depending on where you're signed. But yeah, could be part of the deal. Do you guys have like a demo Dropbox where community members from AC can send you their promos potentially that can make it. We don't have a demo Dropbox. We do have a demo section in the where is it? Music feedback. Yeah, music feed. We do have a demo section in the Discord. So if you would like to send in your demos, you can also do that in the Discord if you want. We have a part for clients and we have a part for community members. But we don't have a Dropbox, and that's simply because we probably don't have the time to go over those demos constantly. Um, unless you mean something else melodramatic, but please let me know. Um, was there anything else I wanted to mention? Let me check. Let me check. Let me check. Oh yeah, we're also working on revamping the online course. By the way, so the online academy. For those who don't know, we have an online academy. That's where you can check the production videos from Base Checkers and the production videos from Jay Hardway. But we're also launching a new course there, which is called the Artist Blueprint, and that's a kind of do-it-yourself, self-paced course where you can kind of go through the fundamentals of building your artist career. It will be launched pretty quickly, like pretty shortly, within a few days, maybe weeks. Um, and I'll let you know once it's live. But just know that it's coming. For now, guys, I would say I think it's done. I don't see any questions coming in. So thank you for listening. I really enjoyed talking to you guys one on one for a change. Yeah, I guess it's the first time actually that we did this. But next week we will be back with Ralph, with Jay, and with a very special guest, Tim Hawks. You might know this guy. He's also from the Netherlands and he's pretty active on socials as well. He's been releasing a lot of music. And we will be having him as a guest in the podcast to talk about his career, to talk about his content. He also started his label, I believe. So we're just going to have a talk with him, as always, an open conversation. So we're really looking forward to have Tim Hawks in the podcast next week. By the way, if you have any tips for other artists that you'd like to see in the podcast, just let us know and we'll try to get them on if you want. For now, make sure to join the Discord if you are not part of the Discord yet. The link should be in the description. And if you want to come to our ADE event, make sure to check out the event. It's in the stories on Instagram right now, and you should have an email if you're part of the email chain as well. Um, we will be back next week, next Wednesday, with the full team and Tim Hawks as a guest. So enjoy your day, everyone. Thanks for being here and asking all those questions. I appreciate you all. See you next week. Bye bye.